Mayor Andre, executive mayor, and there's a difference just between mayor and executive mayor. Andre Braam Truter, a lot of them know the mayor as Braam. I'm not going to give his age and his family and so on, but he's a diverse character. So firstly, he was involved in the police services, mostly in Northern Natal, as a detective, stock theft, and a whole lot of other things. So he has a very solid security policing background. Secondly, and this is quite interesting, established a Truter timber harvesting. So he had this love for nature right at those days and establishing this particular organization. Then, in commensuration with his policing background, he decided to establish Truter Security Services and Stealth Security Services, which he then done for a period of many years, concentrating on a whole lot of things: firearm, protection of people, security environment, emergencies, even transport. So quite a strong security background. Then the next interesting thing that this Natal Weskus boykie done was he got involved in real estate. And at AIDA, done all the various qualifications for that, and he was involved with that from 2013 to 2018 for 5 years. Then I cornered him and said, you have the potential to get involved with the community through the municipality. And he got into the municipality as Ward 5, which is Saldanha, as their councillor, their ward councillor, and he moved in after a year or so into the mayoral committee, and then eventually executive mayor. So executive mayor, it's nice having you here, and it's great for me to introduce you to come and give your short talk. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me? Goeiemôre almal. Molweni, Sawubona, Dumelang. Thank you, Andre, for that introduction. I've done a few things in my life, but the most important thing, I was born here in Stellenbosch, and I grew up in Paarl, and I used to holiday in Saldanha. And when I was 9 years old, I sat on the hill there with my mate. His name was Martin. His dad was the postmaster. And I said to him, like little boys do, we sit in Kalboleif, arms around each other's shoulders. And I said, one day when I'm rich, I'm going to come and live in Saldanha Bay. Now, I got the Saldanha Bay right, but I'm still working on the other half. Doesn't seem to work. But it also showed me something, that in a little boy's perception, you couldn't live in Saldanha Bay if you weren't rich. So my eyes said to me that this is an amazing place. And many days I wake up at night and I don't actually battle to sleep because I don't have money, so I don't have to worry about money. And I see sometimes how our area's gone backwards. And I don't want to concentrate on that because that is, to me, just a much bigger motivation to go forward and to fix and to ensure that we at least stabilize and then start moving forward. I'm very excited about that, and I just said to Mr. Carnegie, somebody sent me a message this morning and said, the most things that you worry about and think is a problem in your life is what other people are praying for. I need you to think about that for a moment, because most things that you think is a problem in your life, somebody else doesn't have at all. So when you think our country, our part of the country has gone backwards, go and take a road trip, because you'll be shocked. In July, I traveled 4,500 kilometers. I went to 4 provinces, and let me tell you what, we live just this much north of heaven. And we need to A, appreciate it, B, not take it for granted, C, look after it and preserve it, because it can very easily also go that way. So, there you see a photo. My mom said it was her best looking son. My brother have disputed it ever since. So, I want to talk today about how we, and I say we, the municipality, local government, see the environment, and me personally. And I'm going to touch a little bit on our vision, our mission and vision that was accepted in council about a month and a half or 2 months ago, so that you also have an insight into that and see how it matches up. So I'm going to stand a little bit on this side so I can talk off there. We need a healthy environment to create opportunities. But I want to talk to that in reverse as well, and I'm going to not elaborate too much on it. I'll get to it later. It doesn't help you to have a good environment and not have opportunities. And I want you to think about that, because it's like Premier Alan Winde said, if there is no longer opportunities, your environment isn't going to last for very long. Go and ask Rwanda and go and see what civil war did to the gorilla population and to their nature. So yes, we need a healthy environment to create opportunities, but we also need to make sure that the healthy environment create opportunities for the people, otherwise we won't have a healthy environment for very long. The Saldanha Bay Water Quality Trust Forum. I absolutely love this initiative, and I'll tell you why. I also am very proud that I'm standing here talking to that. My directors gave me Andre knows that it's a service charter where we measure. If there's a pothole, it should take you so many days to fix it. And I read it, and then I wanted it much better. And then I suddenly realized, no, that's the wrong approach. These directors were prepared to put their hand on paper in their departments and say, test us. Test us. Now that takes guts. And I am delighted that we have the Water Quality Trust that tests us, all of us, industry, local government, and say, we are your conscience. It's like Andre said, we don't run things. We just put the numbers there because numbers never lie. And you need to figure out the rest. Strives to work together with a team, as a team with private sector and all spheres of government. That sometimes easier said than done. But in Saldanha Bay, we've proven over and over that we are striving to work with everybody. Saldanha Bay Water Quality Trust, with business and with government. We do have a huge challenge though. A lot of national government departments will tell you Saldanha Bay Municipality gives the storage of manganese on the port permission. That's true. And we normally say no. And they have a backdoor to national and they say yes. So we really work well when it comes from local to district to provincial, but there is challenges working with national because they create backdoors, and that is a huge problem. We'll continue to face and we'll manage it. Create a sustainable ecological system in the Saldanha Bay catchment area. I just am blown away when I see aerial photos of the lagoon of Saldanha, and I've often had a little friendly argument with Andre when he talks about the industrial west and the tourism east, because I think if you fly with a drone down Saldanha Bay, the beach, I'm talking about the town of Saldanha Bay, I did it once and I posted it on Facebook, and I said I was in Mauritius, and everybody believed me because the water is so beautiful and so clean. So we sometimes underestimate what we have. We have an amazing area here, and it's so unusual to see an 8,000 hectare Sandsar site in an industrial development area right next door to each other. I think we're unique in the world in that sense. The question is, can we balance that? Because everything is about balance. Continues to the promotion of water quality and ecological system health. And I think that is what the Water Quality Trust does for us. They tell us where we're at. They tell us where the problems is. They tell us where to go and look. They tell us where we can look at the graphs and we can see, well, in front of that area, those samples showing us that something is going wrong here. Instead of discovering it in the ocean, and we got to try and figure out where's the problem. Okay, we've just, Nazima, our environmental officer at Saldanha Bay, where is she? I know she's there, she's at the back. Thank you, Nazima. She's just been overseas. She's lucky. They stopped me when I wanted to go overseas, but they let her go. The United Nations Sustainable Development Goals for 2030. Shared blueprint for peace and prosperity for people and the planet now into the future. 17 Sustainable Development Goals. Why did I put this up here? So that we understand where I started when I said the clean environment has to create opportunities, otherwise you won't have a good environment. If you look at their goals, lower poverty levels for all people, half the number of men, women and children living in poverty, implementation of adequate social systems to protect the vulnerable and the poor, how to provide equal economic opportunities, basic services and access to natural resources, property and technological advances to the whole society. So I'm not going to go through them all. You can read them and then you can look at the top. What does that tell you? It's people-centered. The welfare of people is very important to the world. You know why? They figured out when you're out of zinc, when you look, lack of a better word, kick me, I'm a Westkuster, sometimes I run out of airtime in English. But when you look too much after the environment and you don't look after the people, then you're going to have a problem. If things are not in balance, in your marriage, in your relationships, in your work, you run into problems. I said to a scientist in Germany when I was talking to him on Teams about the green hydrogen project, I said to him, sir, with all due respect, you have got an energy crisis. You want me to fix it in Saldanha Bay, but my people's lights aren't on. How do you think that will go down? So help me to switch the lights on, then I can give you green hydrogen. But there's a balance between everything. My people won't stand for it when their lights are off. My industry, our businesses are suffering because of the energy crisis. But I'm supposed to solve yours. There's no balance. And he actually agreed to it and said, yes, we can work on that. Personal commitment to the environment. We're all sitting here and we're looking at the other person. My question is, what is your personal commitment? What is it that you bring for the environment? So I am a son of the soil. I love Africa. I love South Africa and I love the Weskus. Not the West Coast. There's a West Coast in America. There's one in Australia where they have those corks hanging. We are Weskus. And you will see right in the beginning I said City of Opportunity on the Weskus. And we've asked the Premier if we can even trademark that name. And I'm challenging you, when you write it somewhere in anything in the Water Bay Quality Trust, write Weskus. Because somebody in America now holds the trademark for rooibos. Because we didn't do it. So don't underestimate the value of our name, which is, if you see in our, that's part of our vision and mission, the City of Opportunity on the Weskus. We are talking about opportunity and technology, which is our future. But we haven't forgotten where we come from, which is the Weskus. And we must never forget that. How do we get to our commitments, or how do we get to our goals? Is through partnerships. Saldanha Bay Municipality and all organizations, including the Saldanha Bay Water Quality Trust, have shown partnerships are important. Partnerships aren't always easy. Ask anybody who's married. I've married this year for 32 years. I think I got the partnership thing all right. I'm still hanging in there. I don't know what my wife is saying, but I think she'll agree with me. If partnerships aren't good, you won't sustain. You won't survive. You won't get to your goals. In the short term, you'll do really, really well. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go for a long time, go with a team. So if we don't do that, if we don't work together, and I'm proud to say that this local government is responsive, even when we're wrong. Batopela principle number 5, redress. Admit when you're wrong. Say you're sorry. I'm sure a wife of many years has written Batopela principle number 5. If you're wrong, admit it. Say you're sorry and mean it, and offer a solution. And my wife reads me the Batopela principle often. And I've learned to apologize, so that's why I'm still in it after 32 years. Can be achieved to create a vision of a sustainable environment. How do we do that? It's when we come together. Because everybody has got something that they put together. And don't leave out the Middelpos and the Diasville and the Kanini. Everybody has got, don't leave out our traditional fishermen and communities, because they know more than we do. And when you have everybody's perception, you will have clear vision of how to move forward. Functional areas of the government is set out in the Constitution with the National Environmental Management Act and specific environmental management acts. I'm supposed to say it works, but it doesn't. So let's be honest about that. It doesn't always work, but at least the intention is there. And early in my life, I realized that there's some things in life that I cannot control, and I have to manage that. And there's things that I can control, and I focus on that. So let's focus on what we can control, and we manage the national relationships. Governing to secure ecological sustainability while promoting justifiable economic and social development. There it is. There it comes through. Ecology must bring justifiable economic and social development. If it isn't, it's disconnected and it won't be sustainable. Okay, there is our vision and mission of SPM. Saldanha Bay is a people-centered municipality. Without people, we're not a municipality. Who do we represent? We represent you. So if you say we're useless, be careful. You may be referring to yourself as well. Because we are one. We are the same. Yes, we are the managers, and managers should be held accountable. It's a people-centered municipality. It is here that citizens and municipality work together to grow the formal and informal businesses. We sometimes get lost in that. And we sometimes focus too much in government on informal or formal. It's the balance between the two. Promote innovation. Water Quality Trust is innovation. The fiber project is innovation. The fact that I'm standing here and talking to the community is innovation, because through good communication, you can move forward. Attract sustainable investment. That is so important. But the second word is the most important, sustainable. If it's not sustainable, if it is not sustainable to our economy, if it's not sustainable to our environment and our ecology and our people and the welfare of our people, then we should not be chasing that investment. And then the most important is create safe and healthy communities. On the next slide, you'll see it gives us the guiding principles: responsive, efficient, effective, ethical, accountable, and transparent. Competent with a long-term view. Innovative and open to change. Competent and long-term view. I asked all my directors, I want to see at least a 30-year plan. At least. In Europe, if you become a mayor of a town, you have to have a 100-year plan. You have to have a 100-year plan. So if you don't have that, if you're failing to plan, you're planning to fail. Innovative and open to change. Open to change also means open to criticism. It's not criticism, it's just correction. There's not such a thing as failure or doing something wrong. It doesn't exist. It's man's way to pull us down. There's only something you've tried that didn't have the desired outcomes, and that presents the opportunity to do something else to get to the desired outcomes. Human rights, cultural diversity, which we have a lot of here, cultural diversity. I see Chief Kevin Mart is here. Welcome. And cultural diversity, talking about where we come from, who was here first, how did the Europeans interact, the whaling station, and nature, and social cohesion. So it's bringing all those things together, and they coexist with each other well. Then I have a hashtag called Community First. In government, we should always look out And our hashtag, my daughter said, Dad, you've got to be cool. You've got to have a hashtag. Everybody has a hashtag these days, an Instagram, and it plays a song while there's a photo of you. So I got a young girl called Pumza Jakana. She's about 25. She does my social media things and TikTok and this one and that one. And so my daughter said, hashtags, Dad. So I got two. One is community first, which means when I'm in government, and I don't speak for anybody else, but I've asked my whole administration, when we look out, we have to have a hashtag. We have to have a mantra. We have to have a motto that says community first. Always. And if they tell you how useless you are, you say community first. If they tell you how good you are, you say thank you, and you say community first. And then, of course, you have a hashtag too. I have a second hashtag. I didn't put it there. But what is my hashtag when I step out of government and I'm at home? My town, my responsibility. It is partnerships that get us to where we want to be. Not criticism. Observations, corrections, all of those things are good. The easiest things in the world is to criticize and to break down. The hardest thing in the world to do is to compliment and build. But it is the best thing to do. It is what our future is based upon. Okay, I put those up there. It's our strategic objective. So your vision speaks to your strategic objectives. Foster community development through upliftment, integration, empowerment, and communication. Build a diversified economy through investment, growing current and new businesses, and enabling the creation of sustainable jobs. In South Africa, we create too many jobs that are not sustainable. You can't give somebody 2,500 rand a month and ask them to live. So when we bring investment, we must make sure that we don't become a second, sorry, maybe I'm in trouble now, China, where you have a lot of jobs, but people live in one-bedroom little hockeys. We need to find a balance there and create sustainable jobs. Provide cost-effective services with financial institution sustainability. Ellen Wendy, a couple of years ago, asked a leadership group, why do you raise rates and taxes every year? And there was a whole lot of questions, a whole lot of answers. He said, no, you're wrong. You raise it because you can. That's all. If you were a business, you would not do it. So I constantly challenge our team and say, let's look how we can either sustain, bring down alternative sources of income so that we don't raise taxes when we can, or because we can, but because we have to. Of course, selling bread for R2.50, you'll only be in business 1 month. Next month, you'll be the most popular business on the block for 1 month. Next month, you'll be bankrupt, and then nobody will remember you. So there's once again, balance. Then implement interventions to deliver community safety, clean spaces, and environmental protection. I lifted that out because that is so important, and it's important to us. So as a municipality, we wrote it into our vision and mission, the environment. Provide cost-effective services with financial institutional sustainability. So I wrote it exactly like that. We must have cost-effective financial services, but the institution must be sustainable. Otherwise, we won't get any. And I'll finish off with this. A balanced environmental development plan. And I think it sums up everything that I said today, that we have local government, provincial, and national. We all meet in the middle with a B, which stands for balance. So you have economic development, then you have the community. The most important ingredient in all of this. And then you have the environment. And I believe if we run the environment well, and we make the community the custodians, that they own it, you will have economic development. I really do believe it. And I think we should look at it that way and say, it doesn't help me to have a clean environment and the people are hungry. It's just not going to work. So we need to also be careful that we don't stop development, that we don't stop investment, and we don't always shout, whoa. Because if I live in and I'm going to talk about myself, in a nice house, It's very hard to view the world through the eyes of a person living in Kanini or Middelpos. That's living in a hut that's 55 degrees. Why? Because the part of his country where he's coming from is broken. Broken. And this is their last resort. So we must find balance in everything. Then to finish off with something personal, I'd like to use this opportunity, Andre, to say thank you to you. Andre's played a big role in my development. He's the first guy that, when I came into the Mako, he would say, come to my office. He was the chief whip, so I say, yes, sir. And he was a general, and I come out of the police, so I nearly saluted the first time he said it. And he sits me down and he says, you can do better when you do this, that, and the other. And I really listened to him, because he spoke into my life, and it was all positive. So he kicked my backside, and I asked him for more, because he did it in a special way. Andre, you've been an ambassador for the environment for years while you were in council. You've been an ambassador for the West Coast while you were in council. I know everybody knows you're only 65 years old and you still can run marathons, but you're a good community leader. And I know you've taken a lot of flack over the years because you've stood your ground. And you know what shows who a man is when they can do it year in and year out without changing. And Andre, you're an example of that. You've taken in your retirement, you've stayed in the Water Quality Trust, so you weren't there for political fame, movement, but because you believed in it. So from me personally, from Saldanha Bay Municipality and from the community, I would like to say to you, thank you very much for what you do with your team. Thank you to the Water Quality Trust. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to me and giving me this opportunity to interact with you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Just one correction, that's 65 add 10. Mayor, just before you leave, it's extremely important, and you almost kept to the time perfectly. So there's a little bit of minutes that went, but it was wonderful. Thank you very much for a fantastic speech. Now I'm going to put this mic down so that we can take a decent photograph.